Welcome, everyone, to the Real News Network. My name is Maximilian Alvarez. I'm the editor in chief here at The Real News, and it's so great to have you all with us. The Real News is an independent, viewer supported, nonprofit media network. We don't do ads and we don't take corporate cash, which means we need each one of you to support our work so we can keep bringing you coverage of the voices and issues you care about most. So please head on over to therealnews.com/support and become a monthly sustainer of our work today. And thank you so much to everyone who is already contributing. It really, really helps. It's been 10 months since worker organizers at the massive JFK 8 warehouse on Staten Island shocked the entire world by becoming the first Amazon facility in the United States to successfully vote to unionize with the independent Amazon Labor Union on April 1st, 2022. Now, a lot has happened in that time. I mean, that's been 10 months, and war has raged in Ukraine. Coups and attempted coups have taken place in countries like Peru and Brazil. We ran through an entire midterm election cycle here in the US, and yet Amazon workers on Staten Island still don't have a union contract with the company. In fact, Amazon has taken every step imaginable to delay the process, fighting to throw out the results of the historic union election victory in April, all the while turning on the screws, firing pro union workers and organizers left and right, and allegedly retaliating against worker organizers for their involvement with the union campaign. Now, Amazon has claimed from the beginning that the election results are invalid, accusing the National Labor Relations Board of, quote, interfering with the election and arguing that the Amazon labor union organizers, quote, intimidated workers into voting for the union. But on January 11th of this year, the NLRB issued a seismic ruling throwing out Amazon's spurious claims and finally, officially certifying April's election results. So, what does this all mean for workers on Staten Island and for their fight to hammer out a fair union contract with the company? And what can folks around the country and around the world do to support them in their ongoing struggle? To talk about all of this and more, I couldn't be more honored to be joined today by three of those worker organizers involved with the Amazon Labor Union campaign and who have worked at the JFK 8 warehouse on Staten Island, including the great Michelle Valentin Nieves, Jordan Flowers, and Gerald Bryson. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today on the Real News Network.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Well, it's truly an honor to have all three of you on the call today, and I know that you've got a lot going on in your own lives and your working lives with your organizing. So we really appreciate y'all taking the time to sit down and chat with us because, Real News audiences have been very invested in this struggle. They want to see you guys win. They've been following this, since, if not before, the union election victory in April. And they want to know, what's been going on since then and what this this ruling from the National Labor Relations Board means for the campaign. So we're going to dig into all of that in a second. But I guess before we do, I wanted to just kind of take a step back and get viewers and listeners acquainted with you three. So can we go around the table and just get to know this great panel? Could y'all say a little more about who you are, how you came to work at Amazon, what your involvement in the union campaign is, and what it meant to you when y'all won that historic victory in April of last year? So Michelle, why don't we start with you?
Okay, so I've been with the Amazon Labor Union for a little over a year. I'm the recording secretary. I've been with Amazon for 4 years. How I ended up with Amazon was I was actually laid off from my employment, and I was going through difficulty getting a job. And it just so happened that Amazon was one of the places that I applied to when I was laid off. And that's how initially I was hired because it was close to where I lived. And at that time, those years ago, my daughter was just entering her first year of high school. So I wanted to get a job somewhere that was close to where I lived because I was living in Staten Island and I was, getting pretty tired of commuting back and forth to work, going, to Manhattan every single day. It was like, hour and a half, 2 hour commute. So that's how I ended up in Amazon in the first place. And with the vote, because we did win by 523 votes. So it was like a significant number. I was in my house crying hysterical with Kleenex tissues thrown around the house. I was really emotional. It was, everybody else was at the NOR building, and I was in my house just a mess. But I was, very happy, but it was a very emotional moment for me.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Flowers. You can call me Jay. I've been working at Amazon JFK since opening day, September 26, 2018. I applied there once I left college. My mom was moving out, dad was moving out, so it was the only job that could help me sustain where I live. And if people don't know, I have lupus nephritis, which is an underlying health issue. And Amazon had been treating me misfairly. And but pre-COVID, I actually ended up leaving, not leaving, taking a leave from Amazon because I didn't like how they were treating me and my health issue. And I ended up staying out when Chris Smalls, Derek Palmer, Gerald also, when we all walked out on March 30th, 2020, to make a change at Amazon.
And what was it like for you, Jay, when the results came in April that the union had won the election?
So actually, I was in that courtroom when they were doing the count. Me and Gerald were actually in the courtroom. Me, Gerald, Chris, and Derek. Uh, it was exciting. I cried because 2.5, 3 years. Me, Chris, Derek, and Gerald were traveling the world, exploiting Amazon, showing the profits and propaganda Amazon was doing during COVID, showing how they were mistreating the expenses he was making, even him flying in the spaceship, and how he stated on live TV that he thanked the workers for sending him to space and letting them know that that money he used to go to space could have been in your pockets. Again, being the first union, I'm still learning. I'm only 24. That like a union is great, and especially in this type of work environment, uh, you know, with or without a health issue, Amazon's going to treat you misfairly. So with this vote, it meant a lot to me. So I definitely was in tears.
Yeah, man, I was definitely doing a lot of dumb shit and not important shit like forming a union when I was 24. So kudos to you. And Gerald, how about you?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gerald Bryson. I'm one of the co-founders of the Amazon Labor Union, along with Jordan Flowers, Derek Palmer, and Chris Smalls. Uh, Also, one of the co-founders of TCOEW, which basically enabled a lot of this stuff that we're doing today. Um, Basically, I was there. I'm not gonna go through my whole story because it's a long one. How I got involved, but I knew that this place needed a union since day one. I'm a retired industrial construction worker, so I was into building power plants, electrical plants, coal mines, renovating coal mines. Uh, Oil platforms, whatever, you name it, the companies I work for, that's the type of work I did: industrial construction, oil fields, stuff like that. But, with that comes a lot of toll on the body and age. So, I didn't want that. So I had came home and I was working for different companies at home, and one day I ran into Jordan and robotics, and like a little light went off because I'm always me and Jordan live in the same building, and I ran into Jordan, and basically he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to work for Amazon. I'm going to be in for some technology," and lo and behold, I went and put in the application at Amazon, got in there. I believe it was 2018. I had probably as much time as if I was still in there, I'd probably be there 4 years, 4.5 years. Um, Basically, when the pandemic came in, that's when a lot of changes. What a lot of people were worried and had the pandemic going around. It was me, him, Derek Palmer, and another guy, Bertram Price. He was our head manager. At any rate, paranoid, didn't know how you were getting it, and I was working under Chris Smalls at that time. He was my assistant manager, my PA. And they Amazon didn't want people to know about it. They were instructing their PAs and managers not to tell the laborers, the workers, that anything was wrong. If somebody was to get sick and you were working next to them, they would just to remove that person and not tell the other person. That's what was going on, and that's at that point. I think Chris Smalls, he needs to take a lot of credit because that's where it really started for us. He took a stand as a boss and told us, what was going on. He didn't have to do that. I always love him for that, But, people were getting sick going home and they wanted him to shut up. He couldn't do it anymore. They weren't wiping the place down. They weren't sanitizing the place. They weren't giving us gloves. They weren't giving us anything, no type of PPE to work properly and safely there, that's where this all started. They had a carnival one weekend, and everybody, the world is shutting down for this pandemic, and Amazon was having a carnival in their lobby, and that's when we had enough. We couldn't take it anymore. Then that's when we started to take a stand. I wasn't even in the same department as them anymore. I had moved on to the department I wanted to go to for a long time, and I still stood with them. When the time came, I was wrongfully fired. I was wrongfully terminated, but that's where everything started. I've been in several unions. Fired on your day off. It's like something out of the movie Friday. Come on. So, I mean, with that being said, we moved on with TCOEW, and we started to protest Bezos' mansions and embassies, and wherever he was in the world, we went. And that's what impacted us, and gave us the drive to come back. We always had the notion of I know I did. I'm a union man. I belong to several unions, So I always had the notion that that's what we are coming back to do. And North Carolina, they had started RSW, was it RSWDU? What's it? Oh, yeah. They started, sorry about that, guys. They started to make their move, with North Carolina, Amazon down there to unionize. And at that point, that's when we decided, even though they failed, that's when we decided we were definitely going back to JFK 8 at that time to rally and start, for the ALU.
Well, and let's kind of talk about that more. And I guess just for folks watching and listening, TCOEW is the Congress of Essential Workers, correct?
Yes.
So just want,
Yes,
and we'll link to that in the show notes for this episode, so y'all can follow them. But I want to kind of pick up on what Gerald was talking about, because I feel like this is something that a lot of people who support y'all have had to learn themselves over the past year, right? Because like I imagine you guys and many of your coworkers, a lot of people don't know what goes into forming a union, getting a first contract, and when we have barely above 10% of workers in this country who are part of a union, I guess that's not a surprise, right? But I think people have come to understand, watching what Amazon has done to fight, accepting the results of the union election, all the reports that we've heard of retaliation, people getting fired, people getting harassed and surveilled for their involvement in the union. But we've also seen shit like with Starbucks. People are getting fired left and right there. Starbucks is even closing down unionized stores. and they don't have a first contract either, right? So there's all this delay, there's all this bullshit that you have to put up with just to get to that first contract, which for new unions it takes over 400 days on average to get that first contract. That's a long time to wait for that contract. So could you guys just tell us a little bit more about what it's been like for you in the time since the union election victory in April? Like, what have you been hearing from other folks in the warehouse? What have you experienced? Like, I guess for folks who didn't realize it was going to take this long just to get the election results certified by the NLRB, what has been going on in those 10 months since then?
Uh, I just want to say I'm gonna let somebody else answer it. For some reason, I was looking at some of North Carolina on it. What I was talking about, where they had their election, that was Bessemer, Alabama. Just to clarify that, you know, I'm sorry about that, guys.
You good, Gerald? Thanks, man. Yeah, Michelle, why don't you hop in? Let us know what it's been looking like for you in the 10 months since the election victory.
Okay, so for the 10 months since the election, there's been a lot going on. There's been a lot going on because since the election happened, now we have to work on the structure of the union. And with that being said, that it's a lot of work because not only do we have to now get the workers involved, but we also have to get like a lot of information out. We have to speak to a lot of people. So the thing with us is that inside of the building, whatever goes on with inside of the building is according to Amazon policies, because again, we're still employed by Amazon. So even though we're trying to get the structure of a union started, we have to also abide by, Amazon policies. We still have to abide by, the rules of being employed and things of that nature. So what happened since the election was is that Amazon changed a lot of their policies. And because they did that, that affected a lot of our organizing within the building. So one of the main things that they did was literally, I think it was like a month after our election, they changed the off-duty policy for employees. So the off-duty policy right now is you can't stay within the building 15 minutes after your shift ends or 15 minutes before your shift starts. So that affected our organizing because those of us that are still working there, we have access to the building. A lot of us were coming in early or leaving late or organizing during our lunch breaks. And the organizing is just simply a lot of conversations, handing out literature, getting contact information, people's email addresses, people's cell phone numbers. So that policy affected our organizing so much. So we were trying to get around that. And the thing is that because we're so like visually, we're just there because we have our ALU t-shirts. So we have ALU t-shirts. Some of us wear vests. So they would watch us in the cameras, in the break rooms, wherever we were, to see where we were at any given time. If I was in the break room with Derek, speaking to employees, because me and Derek is very easy for us to work together because we're in the same department. And that's how, Derek ended up recruiting me, is because we were in the same department. So we were around each other for hours at a time because at that time, I was doing 10-hour shifts. So speaking to our coworkers inside of the break room, it would usually be me and Derek, and then we would have, an HR person or one of the area managers come and say, hey, we have this off-duty policy, and we see that you're not scheduled right now, or you're not on the clock right now, or you're not scheduled to be here today, and we need you guys to leave. So it wasn't just the managers and HR asking us to leave the building, it was the interruption of these conversations, which are very, very important conversations that we're having with the workers, because these are organizing conversations. So let's say, me and you, Max, we're in the break room and we're talking about hey, we're going to have a meeting on Thursday, and we're going to do it at Make the Road. And, they supplied a space for us to have a meeting. And then you would have, an HR rep or area manager come and just completely interrupt your conversation inside of the break room, which they're not supposed to be able to do because that's protected by federal law. But because they implemented this off-duty policy, so there's just like little things like that. So we have to work our way around that. So now we have off-site meetings. We have more organizing happening like at the bus stop. We have meetings that are happening in the union hall. The organizing is very up and down. Sometimes, we have like a bunch of people that are showing up, and then sometimes we have like not a lot of people showing up, and that has a lot to do with peak season. Because again, the organizing goes according to what's happening inside of the facility and what's happening with Amazon. So in peak season, full-time employees, they're mandated to work up to 60 hours a week. So some of them are doing 5 hours straight, and they're doing 12-hour shifts 5 days straight. So a lot of the workers, are exhausted, they're tired, they're in pain, they're stressed out, they're aggravated, and it's extremely difficult to get people to come to off-site meetings in the middle of peak when they're tired and they're stressed out. Also, you have all of the new hires, and then you have the people that were there before. We have a lot of workers that have stuck through us through thick and thin, and those are the long-term workers that have been there, 2, 3, 4 years, that were there through COVID. People like myself, people like Derek, that we literally worked the entire COVID, before the vaccine, before all of that stuff was out. And we grew like I would kind of say it's almost like a friendship type of a thing. We grew a friendship as co-workers because we went through that together. So that's something that we bonded with, where there's certain, workers that come into meetings, and I'm very happy to see them because these are people that I've been working with for 2, 3, 4 years, and we've gone through a lot together. The fact that it took 9 months for us to be certified, that's just another tactic that was going back and forth, and it was just, I can't get like into details about it because it's like a legal thing, but um, let's just say that it dragged on a really long time, but the certification came through, and we're super happy about it. And it's really impacting our organizing in a very positive way, because now that we're certified, it's just like, okay, now we're certified. The government is recognizing us. And so now Amazon has to come to the table. Amazon has to negotiate with us. Amazon has to speak to us. And again, that changes within the facility. It changes because for a lot of people, and a lot of the corporate people in Amazon, they feel like, well, they're certified, but we're just going to put an appeal for it. You know what I mean? So they're already starting in, even with the message that they sent from A to Z. I know I got one. I'm pretty sure Jordan got one because he still has access to the A to Z. But even in the message of A to Z that's sent out to all the Amazon workers, Amazon is talking about they disagree with the decision and they're going to appeal it. So they said that on A to Z, and they sent that message out to all of their workers. So again, they're just like refusing to recognize, that this is what the workers want. And then they're kind of like making it like a personal thing where, it's like Amazon against Chris Smalls and all of this stuff, which, yes, it has a lot to do with Chris Smalls, but it also has a lot to do with those workers. You can't forget that it was won by 523 votes. That's 523 workers that voted for this union. Whether Chris Smalls and Amazon and what's going on, even with that, besides with that going on, there's still 523 workers that voted to unionize, regardless of the fact. So again, we're just going, with this back and forth game of chess, where now the workers are kind of like getting to the point where, okay, you know what, we won the election, we're certified, now we're gonna start to get involved. And I can't speak a lot about what's happening with the worker meetings, but there's a lot more people getting involved with the worker meetings. There's a lot of people that I have never seen before that are getting involved, and it's just a wonderful thing to have that, and to have workers come to you, and you don't even have to recruit them at this point. You know what I mean? Like that whole conversation in the break room. It's like, we at this point, since we're certified, we could almost bypass that conversation, and they're just showing up to the meeting. And that's something that's beautiful to see, because if they get the email or text message and boom, they're showing up to the meeting. And that's a wonderful thing, because they're taking it upon themselves to actually participate and get involved with the union, to speak to us and to see what's happening and to realize that they are the union.
Hell yeah. No, I think that's I mean, and of course, I want to stress for viewers and listeners, there's a lot going on inside the union, inside the warehouse that we're not going to ask about, because like Michelle said, it's not just about what people can see from the outside. There are a lot of organizing discussions that are better kept within the union. There are legal issues that we have to tiptoe around, because we've seen how much Amazon loves to weaponize the legal system. So I just wanted, to emphasize for folks that I'm not going to ask our great guests here to comment on anything that, would put them or the unionization effort at risk. And just to also kind of follow up on something that Michelle said, which is a lesson that all of us, I think, need to learn as we continue to invest in this struggle, report on and read on and listen to the folks involved in this struggle. Is yeah, we're talking about a warehouse with over 8,000 people, right? It's not just Jeff Bezos versus Chris Smalls, like Michelle said. There's a lot of dynamics there, but this is a massive warehouse that I saw. I was last time I was talking to Jay and Michelle, I was standing out in front of that massive thing. It's like multiple football fields stacked on top of each other. There's a lot of people who made this union effort what it was, and over 500 people voted, over 500 people more voted in favor of the union than didn't. And so yeah, like it's a really big effort we're talking about here. And Jay and Gerald, I just wanted to ask if y'all had anything to add in terms of what it's been like for you or your coworkers, current and former coworkers, in the 10 months since that union election victory.
All right, so I know we're in the same room, so he pointed at me to go first. I mean, in my experience in the last 10 months, I mean, I was terminated last year, September 26th or the 27th. Uh, they said I voluntarily resigned, which again, they saying that I signed the document saying that I resigned when I didn't. I was fighting to get disability and accommodations, which again, another tactic of union busting the state that I left. Um, I mean, with the certification, I mean, definitely a great thing. We bypass, like Michelle said, they have to come bargain with us. And I would also like to take it a step back to even when Michelle said, like, when they do their off-duty policies and they make their own rules. I could state that Jeff Bezos personally said that in the congressional hearing, that Amazon doesn't know their own policies, that they make rules to abide by their favor. So Amazon always has a trick to make sure that if any circumstances, it could have go their way. So I mean, like I said, with the certification, the 8,000 workers, a big facility again, JFK, it's 14 fields side by side. That it took a lot of effort. It took a lot of organizing, a lot of events, a lot of food, a lot of free shirts, and actively engaging, even bringing them to the office now. You're starting to see more workers starting to come up and come to the office and utilize like the resources that they have right now. Even us announcing that we have what do you call it, workers' compensation. More workers are starting to come out with worker injury. So definitely with the certification, it's definitely going to boost our impact inside the facility and the coworkers inside.
Oh yeah, just to, I mean, basically these guys covered mostly, what's going on. What I mean, like, it's an honor to be part of it. When they announced us, that we're legally, a union and everything else. I mean, it's such an honor. I mean, we fought for years for this. I mean, I mean, for the whole thing. all in all, it's all for, the whole thing for the better treatment of people. You know, I mean, and for me, it's an honor to be part of it. You know, I can't tell you what it really means. Like I'm still going through my own personal battles, and see, that's all Amazon. I would like to clarify for the audience that like that's all Amazon and other big corporations are worried about is wins. Oh, we'll just appeal this. We'll just appeal this. Like, when does it stop and it's not an appeal anymore? Is what we have to take a look at our own systems, like platforms that are supposed to help us, like the National Labor Relation Board. They're short on funds right now. They're not. This is a government department of the government. Short on funds. How is this possible? How is this possible that they are short on funds where they can't give due process to what's going on with everybody? Because that's what they were there for, everybody. And this is what we're facing. We're facing, whether we want to realize it or not, we're facing big corporations that are hammered down and taking funds away from us. This is all a political game. This is our own people we're fighting against. This is our own government we're fighting against. And that's what we have to realize, man. Everything we're doing, we're gonna win, or we're gonna get what we want. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that simple. We're Amazon Labor Union. You know what I'm saying? Is here to stay. Whether they want to deal and walk around, they're gonna have to sit down sooner or later. Like Michelle said, we had some things rolling around in our minds to, you know what I'm saying, get this moving properly. You know what I mean? But they'll probably appeal. And what everybody's not realizing is when they appeal during that year time, they're prolonging their own fate too. Because they wanted to appeal, so that just gives more time. They're still dealing with my personal case. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what I've been going through. Appeal after appeal after appeal after appeal. And they're losing, losing, losing. For some reason, corporations believe in W's. And right now, Amazon has no W's against us. None. All right, they're 0-2 against me, getting ready to be 0-3, maybe 0-4, who knows? Against the ALU, they're 0-3. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. What are you fighting for? And this is, like, these are the things that have to be exposed, to the public. What is Amazon doing at this point? Because Bezos will come out and tell you he's trying to be, a great person, a great humanitarian. He's given up. I want people out there to understand what we're dealing with. He gave $100 million apiece to three people that when he got off his penis airplane. Okay, he gave them all $100 million. Yet he's fighting Gerald Bryson for $39,000 a year. Okay, now this year he turned around and gave somebody who was, I love her to death. I've known her, it's a beautiful woman, nice person, but you're gonna give Dolly Parton $100 million, but you want to fight Gerald Bryson in court for the little $39,000 salary again. You spent millions to fight Gerald Bryson in court. Okay, you spent millions to keep Amazon ALU from becoming a union, from becoming a fact. Millions. But you get off your plane, you do this, and you hand these people all this money, and that's what makes you great. And people got to look at this. That's what you really have to look at. These are the people that we're dealing with. It's crazy. You want to fight me for that little bit of money, so you're willing to pay $50 million or better to lawyers to make sure that I don't get a 3-year salary of $39,000. So that's just something to think about, because it's not about all, it's about W's as far as corporations are concerned. And right now, Amazon is way behind in W's with us. And, that's where we stand. And we're going to move forward, for the people, and do the right thing. I didn't get into this for myself. If I had got into this for myself, I probably could have sold out a long time ago. I'm in this for everybody. What we do now affects everybody, because you know what? This is one point of life We all want our kids to be president of the United States and better, but some of them aren't going to be there. They're going to end up in labor jobs. So let's make it, comfortable for when they get there, that they have a sound union at least, and then maybe they can move on from there. Sometimes places like this are stepping stones, but you got to make it comfortable enough that we can work, take care of our families, and do what we need to do to move on. Jeff don't want you to stay in Amazon no longer than 3 years. He wants you out. Like you have a cap off on when you're just a laborer, you know, and those are the things that ALU was are fighting for. Like I've been there 5 years, but I'm still making 22 an hour because I capped out 3 years ago. You understand what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make any sense. So it's all modern day slavery. We have to look at it for what it is. They didn't leave us. The slavers didn't leave us. They just made it better and made it more convenient. You have a place like Amazon that says, "Come on, we got a job for you." No matter if you was messed up 2 weeks ago or whatever, you can go to Amazon and get a job. As long as you have 2 arms, 2 legs, and a torso, you know what I'm saying? You're good. Leave the head at home. You start thinking you're dangerous. That's the way it is.
Well, and like I think that's a real important message for everyone watching and listening to sit with, right? Regardless of what happens with this or any union election, the reasons that drove workers to band together to fight for a union in the first place are still there, right? People's bodies are still being broken down. Amazon is still churning through flesh and blood human beings and then spitting them out when they have nothing left to give. They're still screwing people out of their disability accommodations and unemployment checks. I mean, all of these issues are still plaguing workers, and so we cannot give up on them. We have to keep showing up and keep holding companies like Amazon, like Starbucks, like Chipotle accountable for what they are doing, right? We need to keep demanding that they, actually respect workers' rights and respect people's democratic rights. Like Michelle was saying, like it's already an indictment on our system that workers could win an election fair and square against all odds, and yet a corporation like Amazon, the second largest private employer in the United States, can use all of its money and all of its resources and weaponize the legal system to just refuse to acknowledge the results of a democratically sanctioned election, right? And drag this process out. So like we have to keep showing up is I guess what I'm saying. And as we've all acknowledged here, the ALU is not going to stop fighting. We know that Amazon is going to, probably try to appeal the latest ruling from the National Labor Relations Board. We don't want to ask, Michelle, Jay, and Gerald to give away what they're planning to do next so that Amazon can know what they're going to do next. So I wanted to just sort of round out by asking y'all if you had any final words for folks watching and listening out there, other workers at other Amazon facilities, and ultimately, what can people watching and listening do to support you all, support the ALU, and make sure that they do what they can until you guys get that first contract?
The ALU is gonna move forward. It don't matter what Amazon's doing. We're ready for them. I mean, like this is we've been doing this. You know what I mean? Nothing they do surprises us. They can appeal, but so much. They're running out of appeals. They're running out of anything because, basically when you're appealing, you have new evidence and stuff. They don't have no new evidence for anything. They're just running with the same old stuff. If any one of them is listening, holla. So anyway, with that being said, I mean, I just want to say this to we as the people. I mean, everybody, if you're working for Amazon, UPS, wherever you're working, I just need you to know that we are the power, bro. We are the people. We make this thing spin. Not these 1%ers. We make this globe move. We move the stuff. We make the stuff. And that's what we got to remember. You know what I mean? And we have to stand up for ourselves. I'm not, listen, when I went to Amazon and after walking home, feet swollen, every day and all that shit, I had enough. You know what I mean? I was a problem child to them from the get because they were doing wrong from the get. And that's what people, and it's going on all over. We all, we have to remember who we are as a people and what we want to leave for our children, as I said too. Not everybody's going to be president or a congressman. So let's get it right, no matter if you're rich or poor, because I see plenty of rich people's kids work in certain places they shouldn't be too. Maybe they're the black sheep. I don't know. But what the point is that, like I said, not everybody's going to be in a high position, and we end up in jobs like this, like Amazon and UPS and other places like that. And so, what we're here to do, and what we all need to do, is make sure that we're taken care of right. You know what I'm saying? That our families, can survive on what we're doing there. That our families can prosper, that we can prosper and move on to maybe a better job, schooling, whatever. You know what I mean? But we have to. We have to have a union to afford these opportunities, because these guys, they're not going to give it to us. They don't give a crap about us. They're the 1%, so, doesn't matter whether they're white and powerful, because, it's not a matter of color with them, because, they look down their own people and do this, that are in these places. You know what I mean? So we're dealing with people that have one goal and one goal only, and that's to fill their pockets and to fill their, take care of their family dreams or whatever it is, whether it's to fly to space or whatever the fuck, go to the next dimension. I don't know. You know what I mean? But basically, we have to stand up for ourselves, and so I'm saying that to everybody. If you're working in a place like Amazon, it's time to stand up. Bottom line, Generation U, baby.
Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to agree with everything that Gerald said. And I wanted to say that, unions can be formed anywhere in any workplace by anyone. It just simply is your coworkers, yourself, having conversations, getting together to make things better at work, to create a better environment, to get better pay, to get better benefits. It's possible for anyone to do this. It's also very important that if you are already in an employment, that you have an established union, that you get involved with your union. We have a lot of established unions out here that people are not involved with the unions. People are not participating. They only come around when they have a grievance or of some sort, and it's an issue because it's looks bad across the board for all unions. So, I'm speaking to everyone, because a lot of people feel that because if they're already in an established union or in this really big, powerful union, that this doesn't apply to them, but it actually does. Like, let's just say, like with the nurses strike right now, that's an amazing thing that they were striking right there in Mount Sinai. My daughter was actually born there in 2003. So it's like, wow, to have my daughter born in Mount Sinai in 2003 and now 2023, to see all of those nurses out there striking. And it's a really big deal. It's a really big deal that you get involved with your unions, that you participate. If you see things going on with your union that you're not happy about, then get involved with your union, run for office, volunteer, show up to meetings, do things like that, to not just, start up your own union, and to create a new union and have an independent union such as ours, but also get involved with your current or present union as well. And, anyone can do it. This is, there's a lot of issues involved here when it comes to Amazon. There's definitely race does come into play, class does come into play. That's like, I feel like that's a conversation for another day, but the race and the class does make a big impact with what we're dealing with here, where Amazon really feels that they can just do or say, whatever they want. They feel like they don't have to answer to anyone. They don't have to answer to their workers. They don't have to answer to the President of the United States. They don't have to answer to the federal government. They feel that they have everyone in their pocket. They feel that everyone has a price tag. Um, and when you're working with people, you have to put your coworkers first, and you have to put your coworkers' needs at first. Even sometimes if you don't get along with your coworkers, there's going to be times where you disagree. Plenty of times where I have run into disagreements with coworkers, but you can just agree to disagree, move on, and try to find solidarity and collective power.
Just keep it short and simple because they both hit it on the spot. But definitely support your local business. I still say this in my interviews to this day that COVID's still around, not as high, but during COVID was high in Amazon, so we still worry about workers who are still catching COVID inside these facilities, and these are the same customers that are ordering from these facilities. So just be careful how you order, and again, definitely shop at your local business because what you can get at your local, what you can get at Amazon, you can get right at your local business up the street.
Hell yeah. So that is the great Michelle Valentin Nieves, Gerald Bryson, and Jordan Flowers from the Amazon Labor Union. Please do not forget about them. Follow them on social media. Donate to their, organizing funds. Keep raising awareness about their organizing efforts whenever you can. Just do what you can to stay vigilant and stay supportive because it's going to be a long fight, and we need to be there for them. So, Michelle, Jay, Gerald, thank you all so much for joining us today on The Real News. I really, really appreciate it.
And thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For everyone watching, this is Maximilian Alvarez. Before you go, please head on over to therealnews.com/support. Become a monthly sustainer of our work so we can keep bringing you important coverage and conversations just like this. Thank you so much for watching.